Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Watson Michael from Ceylon Institute of English and Leadership. And today we have with us Mr. Jordan J. Adams for the very first time. So, Jordan, he's an Emmy Award winning, he has won actually Emmy Awards, and he's the founder and CEO of United Fight Alliance and Brawl Call Television. He is a domestic and international authority in the combat sports promotion industry. UFA is a sports production company, aggregator, syndicator, and distributor of combat sports media. UFA assembles the best domestic and international fight promotion and concentrates their assets into powerful entity and is a leader in martial arts promotion, content, and distribution. Currently, Jordan airs on NBC Sports Network, Sinclair Media Stadium Sports, Cox Sports Network, and ABC and CW affiliates. So, Jordan, how are you doing?
Hi, Watson. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you. How about you?
Doing great over here in sunny Florida in the
Uh-huh.
United States. Yeah.
Great. Excellent. So, Jordan, can you let me know why is leadership important? And if you could give us some examples.
Well, it's a good question, Watson. Without good leadership, your organization is in trouble. Your people who work with you, they see more than you may realize. They see everything you do or don't do. A good analogy is I have young children. I have a 13-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old boy, and they will repeat stuff back to me. And I'll say, how did you know that? Or how did you? And they say, we learned it from you, Daddy. I'm like, you? They said, yes, we saw you doing that. I said, note to self, people see a lot more than you realize. So, in my opinion, great leadership is the willingness to do anything that I would ask my people to do. I'll do anything that I would ask someone else to do. I'll be the first one to do it. And I'd much rather set the example and do it myself. Then the discipline comes in at that point to delegate, because as your organization scales,
yes,
as it gets larger and larger, you have to become much more effective and disciplined at delegating. But I would like to set the example first. And then when the people who work with me feel confident in doing it themselves, then delegate it. So, but to answer your question, without good leadership, any organization is doomed eventually, because the infighting, the weight of itself will collapse on top of itself. It can't survive. Leadership is everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much for clarifying that. So, can you tell me what keeps you motivated?
That's a profound question. As I get older and as I've aged, the motivations change. When I was in my 20s and 30s, it was all about proving to people how good I was. It was all about having the fastest car. It was all about having the title and everybody's respect. And, when I tell people what I do for a living, doing it in a bragging way.
Well,
those were the motivations then. It was some sort of chip on my shoulder that I felt that I had to, prove something.
Okay.
But, now that I'm in my 60s, it's been a slow evolution, but now money doesn't motivate me at all. Money is a zero. They're just zeros on a piece of paper. They're just decimal points. They mean nothing. The true joy is in sharing something of value and sharing something that moves someone in a certain way. Now, if it's in the entertainment space, it would be something that would make someone laugh or would inspire somebody, would inspire someone to get into shape or to get into better health.
Yes.
So, in the career space, those would be the kinds of things that would would motivate me, but in the home space or in the
Uh-huh.
friendship space, family and friends would be, being a good dad,
Yeah,
being a good husband, being a good partner in the business space, and being a good friend
absolutely.
to my friends. That they can trust me, and they can count on me. They can count on me. Um, that means everything now, because the older I get, the really what almost forced
Huh?
this this realization on me
Okay.
is, the older you get, you realize this is not a dress rehearsal. Like you have a fixed amount of time on this planet.
Yes.
And how do you want to be remembered? And how do you want to spend the last, your last years on this planet?
Uh,
Who gives a crap how much money you have in the bank? You're going to be dead. You can't spend it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yes.
that stuff has lost its meaning to me. It's lost its meaning.
Yes.
So, your question was what motivates me? It's friendship, family, the spirit.
Uh-huh.
Um, that's what motivates me now.
Wow. Yes. So it does change, right? When you're in your 20s,
Yes.
30s, and in your 40s, and now, like you said, in your 60s. Absolutely. It's very, very wise words. So great. It reminds me of a book of Robin Sharma's. It said, "Who will cry when you die?" Right.
Yes. Yes.
Great.
I like Robin Sharma. Yeah.
There you go.
Uh,
Great.
he's talk about a good leader. That's a good leader right
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you had accomplished many things. A few are like you commentated with super sports stars like John Jones, Shaquille O'Neal, and being the host of Emmy Award-winning TV show Breakthrough Medicine. How do you usually deal with negativity? So that is something which comes.
Well, that would come from my spirituality,
Okay.
which I'm not sure what the main faith is in Sri Lanka, but I am in a very minority here in the United States. I really like the Buddha, and
Okay.
that is a very small section of us here in the United States.
Okay.
Uh, but I like his philosophy,
Okay.
because his philosophy is, there's many different things, obviously, but one of the tenets is, may all be happy, may all be tranquil, may all
Okay.
living beings be peaceful,
Okay.
may all sentient beings be at
Okay.
peace. So when someone comes at me
Uh-huh.
with negativity, in
Okay.
Buddhism, that's called dependent arisings. And in
Okay.
dependent arisings, I don't know if you're familiar, but into dependent arisings just means, who am I to say that this person shouldn't be in trauma? Who am
Yes.
I to say that an oak tree shouldn't be an oak tree? Who am
Yeah.
I to say that it shouldn't rain on a Tuesday? Like, it's
Mhm.
laughable. It's laughable to argue with reality. I'm
Yes.
arguing with reality. So this person is in pain. When they come at me with negativity or anger, they're in pain. And they don't have a lot of resources. That's one of the things I realized too. When I lose my cool, that means my tank is empty. My
Yes.
tank is empty. I don't
Mhm.
have a lot of resources. I'm done. I'm done. I need to either eat, I need to meditate, I need to rest, I need to do something to put some more fuel in my tank. But the
Okay.
beautiful part about meditation is you become the silent witness, you become the dispassionate observer of
Yes.
your own stuff. And that's so I'm like, oh, my tank is empty. Whereas
Yeah.
30 years ago, I never would have caught that my tank was empty. I just would
Uh-huh.
have blown up. I would have blown up. I would have gotten mad and gone crazy. Now, more and more, I don't always catch myself, but
Okay.
more and more and more, I catch myself, because I'm the dispassionate observer of my own conversation, the monkey mind. And the
Wow.
monkey mind. I watch the monkey now. I watch the monkey,
Uh-huh.
you
Wow.
know. So that's a long-winded way of answering your really good question, Watson, which is how do I deal with negativity? 90% of the time now, I just observe it. I
Wow.
observe it. Like if you started yelling at me right now, I would watch your mouth. I'd be like, oh, look at his mouth. It's getting all twisted. His mouth is getting twisted. His face is getting red. Oh, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Look how mad he is. I'm sad. I'm sad that Watson is like in so much pain right now. Because that's what it is. It's pain, right? That's what anger is. It's pain.
Yes.
That's what's behind anger. And as males, we're only allowed a certain few ways of expressing sadness or expressing pain or expressing discomfort. We're only allowed a certain couple of ways to do that. Yeah.
Correct.
And that one of them is anger. So now it's just like whatever. Someone rides up on my bumper in a car or whatever, and they're beeping the horn. I'm like, I pull over. I'm like, go ahead, brother. Go ahead, brother. You know, in the old days, it would be the whole thing of, oh, he's disrespecting me. He's just, I'm going to pull him out of his car and beat his butt, you know, just like stupid. Those are the old days. That's how, you know, that's how I was brought up. And it took me a long time to unlearn all that stuff.
Wow. Superb. Like, yeah, I mean, like, I think most of us, right? Most of us, like, if somebody wants to overtake us, like, we get so annoyed. And if we want to overtake that vehicle, and if they don't allow us, that pisses us off, right? So it's really like, at times it frustrates.
That's ego. That's the ego. It's the ego.
Ego. That's a good one. I just still remember Jessica Biel before she met Justin Timberlake. I think that was on an interview with Ellen. She looked at her old interview, and that time he was in NSYNC, and she was so shy, and she said she had a big ego, an attitude. She had an attitude. She said, I think that was a Jimmy, right? Justin's best
Jimmy
friend.
Kimmel.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you something, Watson. You know, one of the biggest things for me to finally start admitting to myself was that I'm a knucklehead, right? I'm a knucklehead. I make all kinds of mistakes. And B, I'm a big narcissist. I'm a big, like, why would I have gotten into television if I didn't have a big ego? So to admit that I have a big ego, to admit that I have to keep my eyes on it and watch it at all times so it doesn't, you know, come back or get big. It's almost like that plant in Little Shop of Horrors. I don't know if you know it, but it's a plant that keeps saying, feed me, feed me. It's a man-eating plant. It keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And what the guy who owned it initially had hoped for, he regretted as it got bigger and bigger and bigger, because then he had to keep killing people every day. And then he get to the point where he had to kill like 5 people a day because the man-eating plant had gotten so big. Whereas when it was little, he thought it was so cool and he could make money with it. And so anyway, it's like the ego, right? That plant is the ego. You have to be very, very careful. It can get out of control. Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. Speaking about that, a few days ago, I was watching a sci-fictional program, and there was this plant which was growing big and wanted people. But apparently, the team hunts down paranormal activities. They brought the situation under control, right?
Wow. Very cool. Very cool.
Great.
I like it. Yeah.
So thanks for that explanation, Jordan. Very inspiring. So another important thing I want to ask you, and especially when you're in this industry, how important is teamwork to achieve something?
Well, that kind of goes back to what you and I were talking about earlier about delegating and not being afraid to let people, quote unquote, underneath you, let them make mistakes, let them learn. It's a hard thing. Like I notice, like when my kids want to do something, it's very hard for me to say, no, I'll just do it. I'll just do it because I can get it done much more quickly. It's a discipline to let them do it, let them make these mistakes and take forever. And maybe it doesn't get done as well. But it's a huge life lesson if I can remember to let them do it And
Mm-hmm.
now we're doing it together as a team. And it builds relationship. When
Yes.
you let the people do it with you as a team, it builds relationship. Sometimes when my wife's family is in town, they'll play like charades or Monopoly or Blockus. And what was the one we did? Boulder Dash the other night because they're in town for the holidays. I don't
Mm-hmm.
always want to play these games. I don't always want to. Like, a lot of times I'd much rather just get some work done or watch a fight. But I
Okay.
will always do the game. I'll always do the game because coming back to what we talked about earlier about the real importance,
Mm-hmm.
no one I work with is going to do anything when I pass. No one's
Okay.
going to care what shows I hosted. No one's going to care about any of that stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
my parents, my family, my kids, oh, they're all going to care. So that's where I spend my time. Now obviously you have to make a living, right?
Yes.
You got to work. You have to work. So it's balance, it's just balance, finding that balance. And that's something we all have to find. It's different for each one of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Talking about balance, I see so many people searching books, how to balance work and how to balance life. So
Yes.
I read in one of Jack Welch's book, and he said you cannot balance everything perfectly. So you need a compromise at times. So
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
What line of work are you in, by the way?
Well, I'm actually the CEO of Ceylon Institute of English and Leadership. We train students with English language, business English, leadership, and sustainability. So we create leaders and we make them good in English.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, your English is outstanding.
Thank you for that comment.
Yes. Yes, it's
Great.
very good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, could you share with us a story about something which was unforgettable in your career, something interesting?
Yeah, there's one that always stands out. I was hosting Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and I was
Okay.
doing it at Disney in Los Angeles.
Wow.
And I was on the floor I asked my fastest finger question, and the studio audience was answering as fast as they could on their keypads. And the lights on the studio always land on whoever had the fastest finger because it's all computerized. There's 650 seats in the audience, all computerized. And the lights, the gobos, the broads, the spots, they all know where to go based on which seat wins. So the lights all went on this one guy. And it was Ray Romano from Everybody Loves Raymond, the
Okay.
TV show. I don't know if you had that in Sri Lanka, but it was a very, very big situation comedy on our big television network series, a very famous comedian.
Mm-hmm.
And it was on him. He was there with his family. And so I was like, wow, what an opportunity. And so no one knew what to do. He's kind of sitting there and all the lights are on him. And I'm standing on the studio floor.
Okay.
And it's quiet for a second. The director in my ear said, well, ask him if he wants to play. So I said, Mr. Romano, would you like to play? You have the fastest finger. And he said, looked at his family and they said, yeah, do it, Dad. Yeah, do it. So he came down and the audience went completely nuts.
Wow.
And then the director said, do the whole show with him. Normally we try to get about 3 or 4 people in the hot seat in a show. They said, do the whole show with him. Just keep him in the hot seat and have fun. So he had made 250,000 or 500,000. So he was in the hot seat a long time anyway, even without me slowing things down. He was in the hot seat. And we talked about, he had just made Ice Age. So we talked, I said, what are you up to? And he started telling me about Ice Age. And it was great. I'm doing a TV show with Ray Romano. I'm sitting there and all the lights, it's at Disney. And that was a really special moment. I've had a bunch of those. When I lived in Los Angeles, I was very, very lucky. I got to work with very big stars. It was really cool, like the biggest names in the business. And I was blessed. It was a blessing. Yeah, it was almost like I felt like I was in a dream, because I came from a small town outside of Boston. We did not have money. And, I moved to Hollywood and I took my shot and I did well. I was lucky. I worked the whole time I was there. I worked. So, I would have to answer your question by just saying the word California. You say, do you have a great memory? Like if you say, do you have a great memory? I say California.
Wow.
California was just like there was one memory after another that was just like I couldn't believe was happening. It felt
Yeah.
like a dream. It felt like a dream.
Wow. Wow. Brilliant. Brilliant. And speaking of that, when you say Boston, I came without much money. It reminds me of Dana White on his interview with Tony Robbins. So he also worked in a place called the Boston Harbor Hotel. He moved away. People thought he was crazy. And look at him today. The people who loved him
Yes.
are going behind him. And it's like,
Yes.
wow.
I worked one block away from him. He was on Commercial Wharf and I was on Fisherman's Wharf.
Okay.
And he was working the Boston Harbor and I was working Michael's Waterfront. I was just
Wow.
parking cars. I was a valet while I was in university. And I was a
Wow.
valet and we had owned, my fraternity had all the lots. We rented all the lots. So we controlled the whole waterfront of Boston.
Wow.
And I didn't know him at the time,
Uh-huh.
but I wish I did.
But you're Emmy Award winner. So, I mean, it's really great to have someone like you on our show, right? So, and one final thing before we wrap up, Jordan.
Thank you, man.
So,
Thank you.
honor, bro, it's an honor. And one final thing is before we end up, could you give a message like to all the people watch this, like how can they achieve their dreams and how to keep going forward?
Well, just look at Watson. Look at you. Look at what you're doing. You're calling people. I would say one of the smartest things you could ever do is start a show, right? Because what
right.
does the show do? It gives you an excuse to call people who you want to meet, who might be helpful for you down the road, as a friendship. And so I would just say that the real big piece, is finding your passion,
True.
which is not necessarily easy. It's not necessarily easy. I didn't know in university what I wanted to do yet. I didn't know until my sophomore year. And I never thought I'd find it, so that would be the hardest part. And boy, I wish I had an easy way for people to find their passion. I would have to say the bottom line is, what would you do for free? What would you do if no one was paying you? What would you do? What would you do? What would you spend 12, 14, or 16 hours a day at if no one was paying you? That is probably your passion. And no matter what your parents tell you, I don't know about Sri Lanka, but in the States, your parents are always trying to get you to be a doctor or a lawyer or be, or an engineer. If you can't make it as a doctor, we'll take the second best one and you can be an engineer.
Same here. Same here.
I would tell you, do your passion, no matter what your parents are telling you, because it's your life and you have to be happy. So if you want to be a ballerina, go do it. If you want to be a stand-up comedian, go do it. If you like taking out the trash and that's your passion, go for it. Be the best trash collector in your country. It's your life. So that would be the big one. Passion, find your passion, do it. And then once you're in, don't quit. Like this is kind of old news. Everybody knows it, but it's true. Don't quit no matter what, what, because that success could be right on the next card you flip. If you quit before you flip that next card, you might not ever make it. Oh, and then the third thing on the don't quit is take risks, because there's really no such thing as a risk anyway. What is failure? There's no such thing as failure. There's no such thing. It's just one more thing that doesn't work.
Absolutely.
You're that much closer. And I know you like adages because you've used a couple. How about Thomas? What was his name? Edison. Thomas Edison 10,000 tries at the incandescent light bulb
Mhm.
before he found an element that would stay lit long enough for a light bulb. Over 10,000 tries. And that's what he said when a reporter said, "You're a failure. This is your 10,000th time. You can't do it. You don't know how to do it. You're a failure." He says, "No, no. It's not my 1,000 ways that don't work. I'm 10,000 steps closer." And so don't quit no matter what, no matter what. Find your passion, believe in yourself, and help others then too. That's the other thing. Once you get to that, once you get your footing under you, put those teams together. Put those teams together and just go for it. Take a shot. Be, one of the reasons California is such a high for me. It's not necessarily meeting all those stars. I mean, that was a really, really good feeling, meeting the stars.
Uh-huh.
And it was also a very good feeling doing what I love to do. Those were good things, but that wasn't the biggest reason why California was so rewarding for me. The biggest reason it was so rewarding is because it was terrifying, because I was terrified to go there. When I remember driving there and I saw the sign that said, "You're entering Los Angeles," I was terrified because I thought, I'm about to get mugged. I'm about to get pulled over and killed.
Yeah.
And, I didn't know what to expect. I
Yeah.
heard so many bad stories about Los Angeles. I was terrified.
Uh-huh.
And I thought I was going to run out of money.
Uh-huh.
And I just thought all these bad things. So that was probably the reason why, California was such a good feeling, because I did something that was terrifying. I was brave, and it paid
Oh.
off, and I was successful. It was all good things. So, and I'll make a confession. I haven't done anything like that in a long time. I've not taken a big risk in a long time. So this
Wow.
conversation is good. It's good for me. It's reminding me I need to take some more risks.
Wow, brilliant. So that proves the best anti-aging medicine is lifelong learning.
Yes. Hey, before we go, I want to plant a seed in your viewers' minds.
Sure.
For all the people, all the Watson fans out there in Sri Lanka, if you know someone in the country who is in the government or who is a captain of industry, hook them up with Watson and help Watson build his company, because he's going to bring me to Sri Lanka and we'll do a fight. Well, he'll be the first MMA promoter, and then I'll introduce him to Dana White, and I'll introduce him to Shatri and Scott Coker, and you'll be the big promoter in Sri Lanka. So help Watson make that dream come true. And that's a good excuse. They'll give me a good excuse to come to your beautiful country.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Jordan. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, the Emmy Award winner, Jordan Adams. And he has given some good advice. And I'm sure many of you all can learn a lot of things from that. So thank you, everybody, for watching this. And have a great day ahead.